I want to talk to you about something. I think I don't want to keep you so long because I could talk to you forever, but I do want to talk about this. I had a very rough 2 weeks. I lost a friend suddenly.
I'm so sorry.
And this is my second friend I lost in the past 2 years.
Wow.
In the last year, I've been struggling a lot because I had a very close friend die in a car accident. And she was really young, very successful.
I'm so sorry.
And then just recently, 2 weeks ago, I lost a friend, an industry friend. And I've been having a hard time with death.
Yeah.
And it triggers me back to my dad's death. I always have a hard time dealing with it. My dad died tragically in front of me. I couldn't save him.
I am so sorry.
You know, so I have a lot of control issues with like life.
Totally.
I don't know. Like it's been hard for me to get out of bed.
You know what?
I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Getting out of bed for me has been a big accomplishment in the last 2 weeks.
Totally. Because all of this is surrounding you and there's loss in your field and whatever's in your space hasn't been cleared and it's probably sitting with you.
How do I do it? How do I get out of this?
Yeah, it's funny because...
Do I ever get out of it? Is this something you...
Yeah, and it's funny because I think the first thing is to be sweet to yourself and know that with so much happening, specifically when it's tied to trauma, and most things are. So here's a hint. Most things that you feel and experience, they're tied to something that you experienced at a malleable age or something that was huge. Like 19 years old may not be too malleable, but it was so huge that there's a lot of trauma from what I experienced. So having gone through that with your father, knowing that that's going to show up sometimes in places where it's not so evident, it's not directly correlated, and being beautiful to yourself and knowing that you have experienced a life, and inside of humanity, a lot of the times, the world is going to want to hug you, to keep you safe, and your mind traps are going to be particularly strong in keeping you safe. So if you have trauma, so if Diana has experienced something already and then is re-seeing slivers of it that are a little bit similar, maybe it's in your space, you're experiencing a lot of loss, your body and mind is going to work so hard to keep you small and safe that it's going to lay you down and it's going to paralyze you into your comfort and bed to know that you're safe. So the first thing that I always recommend, because I experienced this specifically when I was coaching, I was at the most depressed state of my life, making more, like I mentioned, than I ever have. So I knew for sure this isn't the answer to life. I thought, how am I going to get out of bed? Because I had some discord in what I was doing in the world. I didn't want to get up to make one-on-one phone calls every single day. That just wasn't me. But first, loving your body. Like I literally squeeze, hug, and kiss my arm because it's the most readily available body part whenever I'm feeling anxiety is my MO. So it was heavily depression back when I was coaching, but anxiety is where I go. And I say, thank you, physiology. Thank you for wanting to put me to bed, for wanting to take me out, or getting these sensations of not being able, like this restlessness, for alerting me that I might be in harm's way. And when you can first make friends with your body and your physiology and your mental space to know that it's trying to keep little Diana safe, the little girl that we all carry with us who loves the lollipops, because we all have that, and we all have that in us, then the contrast will soften. Because a lot of the times, I know myself specifically, I get pissed. I'm like, why am I experiencing anxiety? Why am I experiencing depression? This is so annoying, so frustrating. I don't want it to be like this. And you fight it, which creates more tension. And as a result, your physiology isn't as aligned to let your mind know that it could be free of this. It can get up. That the big bear or lion in our primitive state where our bodies come from, we don't need it. We don't need the fight or flight. We don't need the restful, under the cover space that depression holds for us. We can be free. So I'd say the first steps, what I practice so much. I went off social media for 7 months after experiencing a ton of angst. I had this, I had this phase where I sort of lost feeling in my hands, and I was wondering why. It's because I was just people pleasing the hell out of my life. And I began to make friends with my yummy little body in my space that loves me so much that it is going to keep me down and out, which is depression, or keep me full of trying to figure things out, which is anxiety, just because it's trying to keep me that safe and that out of harm's way and that away from the trauma or hurt or pain that I felt when I was little or when I experienced something huge in my life. And once I can love that space, I personally move into coloring. I know it's so weird, but I really love coloring and doing this thing that's just sort of mindless, but it keeps my body and mind preoccupied so that it can't go into other rabbit holes. And once you get yourself to a neutral space, you can then access the positive content that I was talking about, because mental health is a huge one. And though I consume positive content every single day, I make clear that if you're suffering severely from a space of anxiety or depression or whatever it is for you, get yourself to neutral. Neutral's the goal. From a neutral space where there's nothing, then you can choose, oh, I want to go in this route, or I'm ready for positive content. But if you try and put in all the positive to a space that's so down, sometimes it's just a disconnect because your mind's not ready for it. So coloring or a show, I'm big on this.
I'm big in watching movies.
In watching shows and movies. Disney, Sex and the City, I'm all over the board.
Sex and the City all the way.
Get me to a neutral space where I just feel okay again. Then maybe I can choose the really proactive, Erica. But it's okay to be like, thank you, Erica's body. Thank you, Erica's mental space. Let's get to neutral first.
Well, it's interesting to see that, because the last 2 weeks, I not this past week because it was Oscars, but the week that my friend died, I decided to stay home all week, work from home. And when I wasn't working, I started watching movies as homework, like for my acting.
Yeah.
And I started watching a lot of Martin Scorsese films, a lot of Robert De Niro films. And I was just like, I'm going to study the best. And that kept me very focused. It kept me in a good space. I was like looking at the art, paying attention. I was studying the movies, and it kind of was nice not going anywhere, not talking to anyone. I wasn't really texting anyone. I just was in my own space, and I said, until Monday, I'm giving me time.
Well, it's funny because when you look at children, you have children. Do they not love when you give them some screen time or some time to watch a film or a movie or get that, ice cream cone or have that coloring book? They'd probably rather do that than whatever, eat your
No, they'd rather do that than be out of the house.
So
they always tell me, they're like, Mom, you have a great idea. Let's stay home and watch a movie. I'm like, great.
Exactly. So when we feel like that, when we're maybe down or we need some time for ourselves, sometimes the one deep down inside, it's the little us, because we were all there. And what do we think? It just left? No, we need to nourish them with that creative content. There's a reason the world loves film, and it's because it takes us to another world. It gets us into a space of whatever the emotions are going to evoke, depending on the content.
Right.
And so, it's amazing. I love that you said that, because that's my outlet, is shows that get me to neutral, coloring that gets me to neutral.
Sex and the City always gets me in a good mood.
I'm on season 4. Sex and the City.
See, me, I'm always watching season 6, American Girl in Paris. Like, I don't know how many times I've seen that season. I don't know how many times I've seen those last 2 episodes of the finale. I know every word by heart. It puts me in a happy place.
Exactly.